All right, we're looking at the greatest common factor, and now we are actually factoring out that greatest common factor. All right, so when we think of greatest common factor, we are reverse distributing, so we are basically undoing a distribution. We want to take it back to having a number in front of a parenthesis that would then be distributed to the inside. So we want to undo a distribution. So our step one is to find the greatest common factor. We need to find what we can divide out of both terms. Step two is to write that greatest common factor on the outside of a new parenthesis. And then step three would be to divide that greatest common factor out of all of the terms. Okay, so first thing we want to do is find our greatest common factor. So I have two terms. I have an 8x and a 12. So I'm going to look at the coefficients. I have an 8 and a 12. Out of both the 8 and the 12, I can divide a 4 out. I also have an x, but I only have an x in one of the terms, so I can't divide an x out of both of those terms. So my greatest common factor is only 4. So now I'm going to bring that greatest common factor to the outside of the parenthesis, and I am dividing that greatest common factor out of the original terms. So 8x, when I divide 4 out, I would be left with 2x. 12x, when I divide 4 out, I would be left with 3. Okay, so this is my reverse distribution. I am undoing that distribution. All right, example 2, I want to find my greatest common factor. First, I'm going to look at the coefficients. I have a 6 and a negative 15, so I can divide out a 3 out of both of those. Next, I'm going to look at the variable with an exponent. They both have an x in them. I'm going to pick the smallest exponent, which is a 2, so I can divide a 3x squared out of both of those terms. I'm going to bring that greatest common factor to the front and then divide it out. So 6x to the third, when I divide 3x to the second out of it, 6 divided by 3, I'm left with 2. When we divide exponents, remember we are subtracting the exponents. So 3 minus the 2, I'm going to be left with an exponent of just 1, or just leave it as x. Now I'm going to do the 15x squared and divide the 3x squared out of it. 15 divided by 3 will be left with 5. X squared divided by x squared is going to eliminate, so I'm just left with that. All right, example 3. We are finding the greatest common factor for 7x plus 21. Out of both of those, I know I can divide a 7 out of it. I don't have a variable in both of my terms, so I can only factor out a 7. So I'm going to bring that greatest common factor to the front of the parenthesis. 7x divided by 7, I'm left with just an x. And then 21 divided by 7, I'm left with 3. Example 4. I have 10a to the second minus 20a. I want to find my greatest common factor. I'm looking at the coefficients, 10 and 20. So each of those has a 10 in common. I can divide 10 out of both. And then both of them have a variable of a. The smallest exponent is the 1, so I can only divide 1 out. So I'm going to bring my greatest common factor to the front of the parenthesis. When I divide that out, 10a squared divided by 10a, I'm left with just an a. Next, I've got 20a divided by the 10a, and that will leave me with 2. Example 5, I want to find my greatest common factor. I'm looking at the coefficients, 9 and 3. They have a 3 in common. And then my variable with an exponent, my smallest exponent is the power to the 1. So I'm left with, or I can pull out just the y. So my greatest common factor is 3y. Right, 9y to the fourth, and I am factoring out 3y. So 9 divided by 3, that will go in 3 times. For y to the fourth power, I'm going to subtract the first power, so I'm left with y to the third power. And then I have y to the third divided by y to the third, which goes in 1 time. Okay, next we have 12x to the second y minus 18x y to the third. So we're looking at the coefficients, the 12 and 18. 12 and 18 have a 6 in common. My smallest exponent for x is 1, so I can pull one of those out. My smallest exponent for y is 1, so I can pull one of those out. So my greatest common factor is 6xy. When I divide the 12 by 6, that will go in 2 times. I'm subtracting the exponents, so I'm left with 1x. My y is going to be eliminated. Now I'm going to look at the second term. 18 divided by 6, that will go in 3 times. X divided by the x, that's going to eliminate. My y, I will subtract the exponent of 3 and the exponent of 1, so I'm left with 2, so y to the second power. And that is my simplification.